Good morning, everyone, and welcome to NPU Live. I'm Keri Rodriguez.
And I'm Tim Langen.
So nice to have you with us. A beautiful sunny morning in Boston. A little chilly, though.
Well, a little chilly, mid to high 40s today.
That's right, but it's a very special day. What day is it, Tim?
It's Cinco de Mayo.
That's right, it's Cinco de Mayo.
You didn't think I'd know that. I did know that.
It's a very special day. Not really. I always joke about this. This is like a very important white people holiday. For like an excuse to go and get your margaritas and nachos
or buy your mayo.
Yeah, anybody who or buy your mayonnaise, your Caucasian-ese.
That's right.
And it's funny because periodically throughout the day, white folks will walk up to Latinos and say, "Hey, happy Cinco de Mayo." So
I just want to say, first of all, I have never in my entire life done that. I'm just impressed. I realized it was Cinco de Mayo today, as you put me on the spot. But I've never said happy Cinco de Mayo. No,
but we will celebrate. There was a monumental event that happened in this house last night. I'm very excited about it. And it's appropriate that we announce it on Cinco de Mayo too. Because you used adobo for the very first time.
I did. I did.
Yes.
I don't think I used it correctly. I feel like the egg whites I made last night, quite frankly, tasted like soap. But that was not due to the adobo, because Keri's made it with adobo and it's tasted great.
And, I'm just very proud of the fact that, now Tim, over the past, 2 months, has really grown in his love and utilization of Goya products. And
That's right.
Last night, he was not prompted. He went into the cabinet, got out the adobo like a good
I had my Gordon Ramsay on, and I broke out the adobo.
He didn't think mayonnaise first. He thought adobo.
Yeah.
Okay, that is growth. It's progress. Honey, I'm proud of you.
Well, they're also egg whites. You don't put mayo on egg whites.
I don't know. You put mayo on all kinds of stuff that is very disturbing.
Yep, we had a little taste of Brinner last night, breakfast and dinner last night. It was good.
That's the best. Well, since that's our top news of the day, what else is happening in the news today, Tim?
Let me give my daily COVID-19 numbers here. Deaths have risen 69,680 in the U.S. and 1.2 million cases. So that's 69,680 deaths out of 1.2 million cases.
And yesterday we saw a bunch of folks protesting at state houses across the country, shoulder to shoulder, yelling about how this is a hoax. A hoax that has killed 70,000 people across the country.
Right.
And, so
I am going to not talk about some of the people I recognized in those photos in front of the State House. To each his own. Just please stay 6 feet away from me, or 60. Better yet. But that prompted me. Then I go down a little rabbit hole, and I had some trouble sleeping last night. So don't tell Mira this, but I was reading the news, and I'm
sure that helped you get right back to sleep.
I gotta tell you, there's nothing better than me reading about 300 white supremacists in front of the Massachusetts State House. But
Yeah, I don't understand. So most of the people, like I can get being frustrated by being told
totally
to
understand
in place, wearing masks and stuff like that. But most of the people we see really being angry are, or a good chunk of them are white supremacists. Like, so what is the intersection of? I mean, are all white supremacists anti-science and pro COVID-19? Like, I don't understand the intersectionality, because when you see, well, first I'm going to note, as I did before, to me, having the privilege of going out and protesting stay-at-home restrictions because they don't impact you personally and you don't see the relevance of it, is an ultimate act of white supremacy, because it disproportionately impacts communities of color. Not seeing a lot of Black and brown folks, just putting it out there in the photos of folks that are protesting in front of the state houses.
That's right.
Because frankly, the Black and brown folks are, many of them are doing the essential jobs.
Right.
They do not have the privilege. And frankly, if Black and brown people show up at the State House with weapons or flags and are very aggressive and confrontational,
they might be treated a little bit differently.
Yeah. and we know that, right? So very disturbing to see that.
Yes, it is.
But yeah, oh my goodness.
But along with that, I read an article that is the article that kept me up in Boston.com, and it is titled it's titled "Social Distancing Informants." So I thought this was an interesting title, and I kind of knew where this was going. And it poses the question whether or not we have the right to report people who are not following social distancing and who are not wearing masks, and businesses that are not following those necessary rules. And it compares people who do report social distancing violations to playing a part in this Orwellian 1984 society and ratting and snitching. I thought it was a very one-sided article in Boston.com today. So I'm going to.
Yeah, I was going to say we should put it out to.
So I'm going to pose this question. I'm not going to say anything. I am posing this question to NPU viewers and members. What is your take on that?
Are you a social distancing informant?
And should you be social distancing? Should you report businesses, people, large groups of individuals who are not practicing social distancing? And I will leave it at that. And please post on our Facebook page. Please send your replies to info@npunion.org.
And I am not going to actually verbalize right now during the broadcast what my opinion is.
Nope. I am going to ask that it is shared.
I'm gonna put it on the Facebook comments.
I'm going to send it out to the webosphere.
I want to hear what you guys have to say. Are you social media informants?
Or would you be?
I'm gonna try to be quiet and not say anything more than that because I want to hear what folks have to say. But I'm anxious to see whether or not you are calling 5-0.
There is no right or wrong answer. Pandemics are new to me, so I'd like to know how to behave.
Do you want to put out there, Tim, the delegates, the viewers of this program, very proud of you for using adobo last night. Really proud, getting some love. Maritza,
thank you so much, everyone.
Everybody really showing you some love.
Well, thank you.
Because they're really proud of your growth.
That's right. Well, we all have to.
Speaking of growth,
aspire high.
We do have one young man who is trying to grow.
He's bigger than he thinks he is. A young man who, apparently they won't name names here. They won't inform on him because he's 5. A 5-year-old was pulled over in California for driving his parents' car. He had $3 in his pocket, and guess what he's going to buy?
What?
A Lamborghini.
Not slush, a Lamborghini.
Exactly. Exactly. Yep. He was pulled over on a California highway driving his parents' car.
Tim, I got to tell you something. If it wasn't for the age, this could have been either one of our.
Yeah, if I didn't know where our kids were.
And they weren't both 7.
That's right.
Babies,
That's right.
Could have been either one of our 7.
That's right.
David and Dylan. The dangerous double J.
Oh, that's right.
Oh,
that's
man.
right. Stay off the roads, guys. Stay off the roads.
Yeah. Well, when you're 5, and
when you're 5, and you want what you want.
That's right.
You want what you want.
It takes a long time to save up $3 when you're 5.
That's right. Seriously, you think you're rich?
Yeah.
Anyway, I feel like there was a lot of growth in that whole broadcast there. A lot of maturity there. It is Tuesday, all day long. But please tune into the rest of our shows this week. We'll have our Facebook Live in Espanol on at noon Eastern time. We have Christina Laster at 2 p.m. We have Marisol Arusha with your nightly restorative session at 9 p.m. Eastern time. On Fridays, we have A Parent Voice with Benita. Have you seen that?
I have.
It's incredible.
It's fantastic.
It's incredible.
Detroit in the house.
That's right. And of course, Thursdays,
Dad to Dad.
Dad to Dad with
Lots
myself,
of dad
Jose,
chat.
John, and everyone loves Michael Scott. He'll
I'm
be
a
there
huge
too.
Michael Scott fan.
I know,
Huge
that's right.
Michael Scott. But it's such it's an amazing show.
It's a great show. All shows are great, and we have more shows coming because our delegates are raring to go. They've been given the technology. We want to hear their voices. So we're going to have a couple of other new shows coming up in the next week.
That's right. Part of our mission for the National Parents Union, we are sending out equipment across the country so that all of these parent organizations can continue to grow, providing them with Zoom technology and training and laptops and resources and everything that they need to help organize. And the only thing we're asking them for is brain power. because some of the big decisions we're making around, how do we have what we're calling an equity-infused educational recovery as schools reopen, hopefully in the fall. How do we approach this? We need their brains, we need their input, and
Seriously.
they're helping. And boy, oh boy, do we have a lot of interesting campaigns coming up. We're going to have the equity-infused educational recovery, Just Test, our fight for justice when it comes to equitable access to testing, and also Every Family Votes, our new initiative to make sure in 2020, every family across America is going to be voting, that they are registered to vote online, and that we fight to have mail by vote accessible to all families across the country, because don't we know now, it matters.
That's right. I'm not going to give my opinion on that either.
Oh, good.
But again,
he's so good.
Give me your opinion on social distancing and formats.
Yes. Are you calling the cops on people not wearing masks and not social distancing? Are you calling up when a business is not being safe? We want to hear from you. Hit us up in the comments.
That's right.
All right. More comments to come. We're going to bring on from Austin, Texas, our dear friend, a ray of sunshine, Mira Brown.
I'm so excited.
Prepared Parents. He is so excited that Mira is joining us, and we're talking about something very important today. Parents, we know, are concerned about our kids falling through the cracks. What can we do? Oh my goodness, if there's one thing we can do today, Mira's going to help us out with it. But first, Mira, how are things in Austin? How are you making it through? How's the hot weather down there?
It looks sunny outside that window.
It's the light. We had a beautiful day yesterday. Today it's summer in the South, right? It's one day it's rainy, one day it's sunny. It's kind of all over the place. Or 1 hour it's rainy, 1 hour it's sunny. It was 98 degrees yesterday.
Ooh.
Yeah. It was one of those, we went for a walk at I don't know, I guess I stopped working at 6, and I needed to sort of get the toddler out the door so my husband can cook dinner. And I was outside, and the whole time under my breath, I'm just like, it is so hot. What am I doing? And so not quite used to it, but it was a rude awakening. The summer's coming.
I am looking forward to some of those warmer days, because, when you've got kids and it's hot and they're crabby, the easiest thing to do is hit them with the hose. Hit them with the hose. Spray them down, get them wet. Works like a charm.
I told Ben, I was like, my car needs washing. I mean, I haven't taken it. Well, I took it one place, but I was like, it sits under a tree. You could wash it again if you wanted, with the kids in the afternoon, and spray them down. And while you're at it, wash them too, so we don't have to do bath time later.
I love it. It's a good time for a sidewalk chalk too. We were talking yesterday. I was a dead body on the sidewalk.
I saw that on
Facebook.
Facebook.
Busy.
That's right. Keeping them busy, because boy, are they fussy right now. We're also talking about how our kids developing a little attitude across the country. We're hearing a trend. Folks,
little maxitude, as I refer to it this weekend.
Yeah.
Nice.
Big feelings manifesting themselves in different ways. And I don't know what it is, but it seems like every parent we are talking to, every parent activist, whoever we are talking to across the country, they're like, whew, these babies.
Are these kids? Yeah.
Talking today.
That's right. Not me.
Oh.
It is no different in my household. In fact, I was thinking about this morning's conversation, and for whatever reason, it feels like we should all be falling into a routine, and we are in certain, but it just keeps getting harder, and it's like different pieces of it that get harder, and it's like as one thing gets a little easier, something else rises to the occasion and gets harder. And my 2-year-old is definitely in the throes of attitude. So it's like the 2-year-old attitude, and then the 6.5-year-old attitude, and then I have the 10-year-old niece. It's just like all of it together, and let's be clear, I probably have one too.
That is very clear. A lot of adult attitude happening, and it's just it's
the emotional out. Like we're all,
we're all a little bit stressed.
That's right.
We're all a little bit stressed. Actually, that leads me to what I was going to share about yesterday and today's tip. So yesterday, hence my car, it was Monday, and Mondays are particularly hard. Trying to sort of rally the kids. My son, he's not, I thought he would enjoy sort of the way we're doing school now, because it's very free flowing, i.e. it's when mom can get her act together. And he's not. And so Mondays are particularly hard. So yesterday he just like would not engage in school. And we have a Zoom that his teachers, for the class to come together, the kindergarten to come together. And it seems fun, and he has he just doesn't have any interest in it. Anyway, so I'm trying to get him, like the 2-year-old's running around like a madman. My husband's working because that's his work time. I'm trying to like wrangle the 6-year-old out of his room and like onto his Zoom. He's digging in his heels. Like it's like the battle of the wills yesterday morning. I don't think I'm the only one. I finally get him 10 minutes late onto his Zoom call. And, you have to have a password and all this stuff. So like I have to do it. It's not like I could just give him the iPad. And like 5 minutes in, he's like, leave meeting. Just like
you could do that.
I'm good. Thanks. I'll start the Zoom. Yep.
And he just like looks at me, and I just like look at him, and we have this like staring contest of like, he's like, what are you gonna do about it? And I'm thinking in my head, what am I gonna do about it? Like he literally just disrespected his teacher and hung up the like, and that was part of it. Like to me, it's less about, do I think my son, no, probably not getting a ton out of it's not the way he learns, right? He has a really hard time with auditory process, but it's sort of the respect that I want to sort of teach him, right? And the fact that that's his kindergarten teacher who he loves and adores. And he literally just basically did the equivalent of walking out of her class, like leave meeting. So we're staring at each other, and I'm like, we're going to do an activity then. We're going to do one of the things that was due last week that I couldn't get him to do. And it's writing a how-to story. And he like slumps in his chair. And we're in the kitchen. And I like look out in the car. I'm like staring at the car. And I'm thinking, can I just make a run for it? Like, can I just grab my keys and make a run for it? With like, I am having that moment of like, how far can I get? If I grab a mask and I get in my car, like,
how many hours? How many hours to Mexico?
Yeah, right, exactly. Like, first I'm thinking, like, which state would I go to? Like, where I'm not going to Louisiana. They're not in a good place. But I'm literally having those moments of like, can I make one for it? So instead, I packed up snacks. I packed up water bottles. I threw both the kids in the car. I rolled down the windows. One of them was kicking and screaming as I got them in the car, but I rolled down the windows, and we had like the literal, it's very cliche, but like literal, because it was gorgeous yesterday, hair flying, and just like, it was just freedom. It was like, and I think all 3 of us felt that way, like in the car with the sun beating down. I like was blasting Moana, we're like singing and driving down the highway in Texas, and just for like 30 minutes aimlessly around.
We are going somewhere, even if
I don't care. They're locked in their car seats. We're driving. Mama's free for like 30 minutes. And then I had like a guilty feeling of like, okay, I should probably. But the one thing that I did do, which gets us to our tip for today, is I grabbed books. I grabbed their favorite books. I threw them in the car with the snacks. We found an empty, just like a big empty field, which an hour later when the security guard came up, I subsequently realized it's private property, but it was great for that hour. I apologized profusely, got back in the car, but we found a big empty field, and we sat down and we read books. I read, we read books, and we like told silly stories, and we had snacks, and we played tag, and we played duck goose, and we ran around. And so the reason why I'm sort of sharing this is for two reasons. One is I want to honor that this continues to be hard for all of us, right? It's getting harder in my household. I don't think I'm the only one. And we do the best we can every day. And 2, if there's one thing we can do right now, if we feel like we can't manage the worksheets and the apps and the whatever is happening sort of in your household, the one thing we can do is reading. It is possibly the most important thing we can do. And this comes on the heels of, we've gotten a ton of parent questions around, rightfully so, I'm really worried, my kid is falling behind. How do I know if he's falling behind? And it's really hard for me individually to be able to answer, is your kid falling behind? Because it's such an individual thing, and I'm worried about it. And then the subsequent other question is, just tell me the one thing. I think parents are grappling for that. Like, what's the one thing, if I can just know I'm doing that one thing every day academically, like what is that?
Conversation. I think it was the very first thing that we talked about when we started this broadcast.
Yep.
You know, the whole reason we started this, what is the one thing that we can leave parents with every single day,
right,
that even if things don't go perfectly, even if, you know, it's chaos and everybody's upset, you're having a bad day, because we
right,
have bad days, you know, where it's, and sometimes they're really good days,
yep,
where you just can't sit because you get the jiggly wigglies and you cannot learn that day. If you can read, if you can sit and read for half an hour, that is the most important.
Not even half, 20 minutes. The research will point to 20 minutes a day. If you can focus on reading, and I'll give a couple examples of how, but like focus on reading for 20 minutes a day has proven to help with brain development, help with listening skills, right? All of that is so important. 20 minutes a day. And when I like read that and was like thinking about sort of this tip, I was like, okay, 20 minutes a day. Like, I can do this for 20 minutes a day, you know? And so yes, the tip of the day today is focus, if nothing else, on those hard days, or if this is just what we can give right now, focus on reading. Even with young kids, all learning is built on a foundation of reading. And as far as sort of academic skills go, there's honestly nothing, all academic skills, there is nothing more important than literacy and reading. So if you're worried about one, just know that the act of reading to your kids, the act of building that is important. And I wanted to sort of say one other thing before, a couple of examples of what we can do. It's less actually teaching your kid how to read, because teaching your kid how to read is actually quite, there's a lot of really, reading readiness includes a ton of really complex skills, phonics, all of these different things. And like, I don't know personally how to teach my kid how to read, but what we can do as parents is more around developing our kids' confidence, right? Their love of reading. And I know that sounds very cliche, but if you build their confidence, whether they can read or not, that will lead later and build a joy, like a positive experience in reading.
Well, and you know, like that actually makes me think about your experience with your kids and how they watch you read,
right,
and how important that is, because they actually brought it up to you.
So about 2 years ago, I was telling my oldest son, Max, I was like, you know, I really need to see you read more. We were trying to get him into reading. And he looked at me, he's like, I don't see you reading, Daddy. I'm like, oh, I'm sorry. I'm too busy trying to make a living and raise a family during the day, but I read at night. But then I was like, oh man, but he is kind of right. So that's, I had to kick up reading a little.
Yes, reading. That is one of the first thing that's totally, that it, and I don't think about that, because if in the free moments that I have, I'm reading to them. I mean, I have little ones also, right? But I'm reading to them. They very rarely, to your point, because really the only time we end up having as parents is often at like 10 p.m. at night,
yeah,
you know, or they see us doing this. And
yes,
we could be reading, you know, but it's a very different experience. Like, pick up a book or whatever it is, and physically like have a set of time, you know, plan weekly, daily, couple, I mean, ideally 3 times a week is what they would recommend for 20 minutes, but if you can do it daily, great, even better, right, for our kids. But plan a time where you guys are reading side by side. You know, the kids could be doing picture, whatever it might be, but they need to actually physically see us reading books as well. That's super, super important. The other thing I would say is read to your kid, even if they know how to read. And this one's interesting. It reminded me years ago, my brother was deployed in Afghanistan, and my sister-in-law was home. She, while my brother was gone for over a year, she developed a new ritual with my nephew where she would read to him. And I thought she was crazy, because he could read. He was like he was like my brother, he was an avid reader. And she would sometimes this would be happening I was visiting them, you know, that year when my brother was gone. It would be like 11 p.m. at night. She'd be reading to him. And I'm like, what are you doing? She'd come home from the hospital. She's a doctor, and they're sitting there doing this ritual. And in fact, I thought she was crazy, and she was spot on. Even if your kid can read, children who are read to are twice as likely to score much higher on their reading and develop reading. So they need to see you read. And even if your kids can read, the act of reading to them is super positive, right? Influences their ability to sort of pick up reading skills and build confidence, because we've talked about this. That time together, that undivided attention together creates a really positive experience. It always comes back to mattering, doesn't it? Short bursts of time and mattering. But that provides it, like you're associating for your child a positive, right, association with reading. Versus, I'll be honest, I remember as a kid, my parents read to me all the time, but I remember I had a really hard time learning. I mean, it was like second grade or a little bit later maybe even third grade, when I finally started reading. And I can remember these feelings of just like the struggle of trying to learn to read. I think that's where we don't want to get with our kids. We want to just have that positive association with reading, so that you're building their confidence, even if they can't do it yet, right? And so that's part of it also, is sitting down together and reading to them and enjoying that process.
Well, we have some examples too of kids reading and falling in love with reading, and I want to brag. Any excuse I have to put my little babies.
Please do it.
So, Daniel, I will tell you, we have started a little tradition here. We're trying to start a ritual where we're reading books together. My Miles, who is 8, and Max, who is 8, we are reading Tales of a Fourth Grade Nothing. This picture right here is of my oldest son, Matthew, who's about to be 13, reading to his younger brothers. It's a kid's version of Hamlet. We got some different, it's kind of kids' versions of Shakespeare's stories and plays and written works. And he likes to read to them. And they love when their little brother or their big brother is actually paying attention to them and doing so, because, you know, the age difference, he doesn't like to hang out with them so much. But when they're doing this, like this is enthralling. Oh my gosh, Matthew is reading to us. There's another picture of I think David.
Best books.
Oh my! We have
love them.
And he was in a reading contest where you have to like go online and you got to enter the books every day, and you get like another apple on your tree. It was a contest with his class, and he could not wait, you know, to kind of devour these books and be a big boy who is reading them on his own and reading them to me. So that was a wonderful tradition. He was so proud this night when we read 4 books. He could not wait. And these Mo Williams books are fantastic.
They're the best.
Doing readings on Facebook
Live.
Live.
Yes, he is.
It's kind of amazing for them to actually see the author reading his own book. And then the last one is, again, you know, we're starting our little book group here. And Miles, my 8-year-old, and Max, who is Tim's 8-year-old, falling in love with Judy Blume, kind of getting out of that kind of, you know, graphic novel kind of, and getting them more into chapter books. And so we're reading this book. We got a little book club. And Miles yesterday was out in the yard, you know, doing his reading. He cannot wait for Wednesday when we're all going to read together again. And we take you know, everybody reads 2 or 3 pages, and I read 2 or 3 pages, and then we talk about it. And, you know, they're at the perfect age for this, you know, Tales of a Fourth Grade Nothing, where they're both big brothers, and they have little brothers who are characters. So they're learning to identify with a character and feelings. And feeling, wow, I'm a big brother. Nobody cares about my feelings. And what does that feel like when you have those big feelings? So not just reading the book, but actually being able to talk about it too. So it's just wonderful. I mean, I read Judy Blume when I was a kid. That's why I was so excited about it. So it's wonderful to be able to share this with them as well. So we're trying to embrace that.
I love it. And this is how, I mean, I think what you mentioned is this is also how kids get curious, right? And learn new things and new facts and knowledge. And I mean, it's the best way for them, you know, to learn it and figure out what they're interested in and what captures their imagination. And right. And I think what you mentioned is super important, is if in that 20 minutes you can do, you know, they're doing some reading, you're doing some reading, you're reading together. Sorry, I don't know if you can hear that. You're reading together. kids are knocking on the door. And you're actually talking about the story. Maybe you're turning it into, not Miles. Gabriel loves to then just like make it his own and goes wild with the story. All of that, as part of that 20 minutes. And the last thing I would say is, and this one I had to sort of say for myself is, it is important that your kid read to you, right back to you, sort of no matter where they are in their reading, and be very patient. I sit there like, and I know he feels it. I'm like the worst. I like sit over his shoulder, and as he's trying to read a word, and I want to sort of like jump in and take over, like just let them do what they're going to do. Because again, this is less about you teaching and much more about the confidence building and the experience, right, of reading, right? So be a reader, not a teacher. And I have to remind myself that because I constantly want to do that. And that's just, and I know I can feel Gabriel go like that.
What? Max was the other day when he was reading, and I was like, dude, speak up. Like, I can't hear you. It's driving me crazy.
But there are fun games you can do instead, right? Like I spy with my little eye. You can do I hear with my little ear. Like Gabriel loves that one. I just started trying that one out, and that was like revolutionary because I would try to like get him, and it was really hard, but that's a fun one. Great Schools has a whole list of books, and then there is a Storyline online where celebrities are reading books. So we listened to a book, The Kissing Hand, which is one of our favorite books by celebrities. So there's a lot of options out there, but read. That's our tip for today. Read.
I love this. It's wonderful. Mira, thank you so much for being with us.
I'll be using this week.
That's right. From Prepared Parents joining us, you can sign up for their daily tips at preparedforsuccess.org or preparedparents.org.
That's right.
It takes less than 30 seconds to sign up.
Less than 10.
You get Mira in your inbox every single morning. And
That's
we
right.
love it. I love waking up to Mira's tips. So
thanks, Mira. I'll see you tomorrow
morning. So wonderful. I thought that was a great tip.
That was great. I could have used her 4 days ago.
I got to tell you though, that was our very first tip. Like no matter what, if you can spend that time connecting with your child, reading, it does not, you don't have to be teaching organic chemistry, parents.
Nope.
That's one of the things we're talking about too. Like what we're doing right now is emergency education. Yeah. We're helping, we're doing the best that we can. Right. Parents are parents, not teachers.
Well,
so we're trying to make
they are now. So happy parent teacher.
That's right. Happy
teacher appreciation week, parents.
That's right.
You made it.
Talking about that, I've had some folks sending me last night a T-shirt that was the 2020 homeschool teacher of the year.
Congratulations, babe.
Oh, thank you.
So all those parent teachers out there, if your kids are mumbling when they read, just let them do it.
Go get a muffin.
It's okay.
Congratulations on your appreciation this week. Joining us from Chicago, Illinois now. We haven't checked in with Chicago, Illinois.
No, I love Chicago. We were there a year ago.
We were there a year ago yesterday, actually.
That's right. We look at the memories. We're on the Ferris wheel.
Jennifer Ehalt is joining us from Common Sense Education. So excited to have her with us for the very first time. Joining us. Jennifer, how are you? So nice to see you.
I'm well. It's nice to see you too.
So wonderful to have you on the broadcast. Thanks for being patient with us. But every morning we're doing this show to kind of reach out to parent activists and advocates, and we're reaching over 1 million families every single week with this little broadcast from our living room. But trying to connect with folks to just see how they're doing. And we know you're a mama. You've got 2 little ones at home, right? So first, how are things in your house? How are things in Chicago right now? Is this as easy as some folks thought it was going to be?
Absolutely not. The whole time Mira was talking, I'm like shaking my head, like, yes. Thank you for, making me feel better, because everything she was saying, I felt like it was myself talking. So really great segment from her. But yeah, my husband and I are both working full time, and we have a 5-year-old and a 3-year-old.
So you're in it.
We are up to our eyeballs in this. Yes. And, my 5-year-old is in junior kindergarten right now. So we don't have that full on, everyday distance learning, but, maybe 20 minutes a day, we have just practicing sight words and letters and, just enough to keep us going and keep her engaged in learning. But, I think it's more about, because they're so young, it's keeping them entertained every 20 minutes. You know, they craft for 20 minutes, they play for, you know, it's like the constant, you know, way to keep them busy for essentially 12 hours a day.
It's a lot. Keeping them busy is a full-time job, and then trying to hold on to a full-time job at the same time is very, very difficult. That's why this broadcast has become so important, because I think some parents are thinking, am I the only one that's going nuts here? Has everybody else got this thing figured out? We don't. We do not all figure it out, and that's okay. That's totally okay. So tell us about Common Sense Education and your work in Chicago.
Sure. So I'm the senior manager for outreach at Common Sense Education. So, you know, we do a lot of work with school districts in terms of our digital citizenship program. So we have a curriculum where we build, you know, implementation plans to help school districts K-12 implement all of those things around digital citizenship, which right now I feel is so important because everyone is connecting, communicating, and, you know, really, you know, scrambling to learn all of this etiquette around online learning. And so we do, you know, that's one piece.
Digital citizenship. I don't even know what that is. What is digital citizenship?
I know. And when I said the word, I'm like, oh, you know, it's such a term that's used so loosely. So digital citizenship is really the way, you know, we act online. You know, we are citizens face to face in our community and in our, you know, spaces in our world. And when we take that online, you just add the word digital to it. And so what does it mean when we're communicating? What do our online relationships look like? How do we interpret news and media literacy? Especially now today more than ever, you know, what do we believe? What do we not believe? How do we know it's true? You know, what sources should we be tracking and looking at? We take a look at cyberbullying, digital drama, hate speech, and really, you know, trying to get our kids to understand what all of those things mean and how to react to them.
Well, it seems like your work is going to become more and more important. I mean, certainly, you know, as technology is evolving, it feels like to us as parents, we've been trying to pull school systems, like whether it's on the local level, the state level, the national level, into the future. And putting some importance on the fact that we've got to teach our kids the skills, you know, how to navigate this technology, how to behave in a digital world. But now we're thrown into this crazy context. So your work must have exploded because not only are we dealing with emergency education right now, which is where we are, and we're also talking about, you know, potentially having to have a hybrid of education in the future, remote learning, distance learning, whatever we're going to call it. We're hoping it's equity infused, and a big piece of that is going to have to be digital citizenship and how we conduct ourselves online, and, you know, how we behave. You know, people become keyboard warriors. Bullying takes place. We've been talking about cyberbullying for a lot of our older kids. So, oh my gosh, like it must be like from a fire hydrant trying to help people figure out this brave new world. So tell us how you're thinking about that.
So Common Sense also, I mean, I kind of talked about the education piece because that's where my role sits, but, you know, I also do tons of parent sessions and parent talks, and Common Sense has an entire parent team. And so in light of what's been going on, we have definitely risen to the occasion, and we have designed all kinds of new resources in terms of, you know, meeting the needs of coronavirus for parents at home. And so when it comes to distance learning, we have tons of resources, but a couple I wanted to point out because I know we're all getting resource overload, but I want to highlight some really important ones. So we have what we call ultimate guides for parents. And so these ultimate guides to Zoom, ultimate guides to Google Classroom, you know, all of these things that we're scrambling to learn, we've tried to put together in one place so that parents can go download these things and just, you know, what is it? What do I need to know about it? How does it work? So just really what we hope to think is light reading, just enough to kind of get us started and, you know, get our feet wet and have an awareness of what our kids are engaging in online.
We need those bite-sized pieces.
Exactly.
Trying to entertain
They're reading
9-year-olds at the same time as you're trying to figure out what the hell Google Classroom actually is, and where do I find that code anyway, and why are there 6 different codes? Sorry, my trauma is revealing itself.
Yes.
conversation.
And you're not alone.
We need bite-sized, like easy ways that we can digest it. So what you're telling us is that Common Sense Education is providing us with these incredible resources. So if you're at a loss, and frankly, I think what you're saying is so critically important. We have had so many resources thrown at us. And frankly, even from teacher to teacher, one teacher likes Google Classroom, the other likes Zoom, one teacher likes this particular math resource. Like I feel like a mixed family. We're a Prodigy Khan Academy family. Like it's so much to try to wrap your head around. To master all of the resources for one kid is difficult enough. To have a whole plethora of things you're supposed to figure out while you're holding on to a job, filing for unemployment, or working in essential position, like it's overload. So these
it's so much. Right. And, you bring up a good point with all these apps and websites, because we are hearing all of these terms, so to speak, or resources like Seesaw and, just everything. And so we do ratings and reviews as well for different media outlets. And so we rate and review apps, games, books, websites, and we take a look at the learning potential that piece of media, has and we also take a look at the learning potential. So it's really about finding high quality, content for our children. And so when, educators are, suggesting different apps or websites or games or parent to parent, you can go to our website and you can get the down low on all you need to know about particular apps. So, at the youngest levels, I know I've been using the movie reviews a lot, because let me tell you, screen time is up at our house. I know it's up at a lot of homes. And if it is up everywhere. Yeah. And, as a parent, I feel so guilty. And so part of it is looking at high quality movies, right? So I can go to Common Sense, I can go to the movie reviews, and I can pick the 5-star ones and feel good about it and understand what the movie's going to be about. So if I have to talk to my kids about something prior to getting on, if there's a small piece or a small scene or whatever, but it gives me that feeling of, okay, I know what it's about. It's a good lesson in there. There's a role model, whatever. Because I know there's a really different, with younger kids, watching hours of Daniel Tiger's Neighborhood is really different than watching hours of SpongeBob SquarePants. Not that there's anything wrong with, SpongeBob SquarePants or Daniel Tiger, but it's kind of just those lessons learned as they're consuming content when they have to, right? When you're in a position to.
I think that's really important. Because a lot of the time, our kids, just by virtue of being kids and kind of, being so immersed in this stuff, often know more about this content than we do. And then when they have questions or they're processing something, or even if it's manifesting some other way where they're confused about something that they saw, if we don't know, we can't help them process. And if you don't have the ability, literally the time to sit with your child to monitor every moment, being equipped with that information is critically important. So let me ask you this, moving into the future, as we start to think about, because, as parents, we are thinking about what re-entering public schools are going to look like. And frankly, the way we're thinking about it is that, we want it to be equity infused. That is going to be what we are yelling and screaming about over the next several years. Equity infused educational recovery. That is what you're going to hear from me. And we do know that there's going to be a whole host of concerns for parents where, when we're comfortable to even let our kids re-enter public buildings, and there's going to be a whole conversation there. But once we do, we know we're going to have shifting schedules. We have states across the country talking about whether or not we have 2-day, 3-day schedules, what social distancing looks like. So all of that is going to have to be mitigated with remote learning, distance learning, and really embracing this in new ways. So, a lot of us as parents, we have this mindset about screen time is bad, being on the computer constantly is bad, learning these skills are going to be critically important. How are you guys thinking about that and preparing parents? Are you going to step up your outreach to parents? And, are there ways that we can connect with you so that we can have some training around this stuff directly as we prepare for what a new world of education looks like for our kids?
Sure. I think we're going to be seeing a lot of different things in the coming months from Common Sense, both on the education side and on the parental, advice side. the PD for educators is going to be different. I think there's going to be a lot more hybrid learning moving forward. Again, just my opinion, but I think we're going to see a lot of online, offline, face-to-face mixed throughout, the weeks to come. And so what does that look like? And I do think for parents, scheduling, and coming up with those activities. And so one of the big resources we launched since all this came about is called wideopenschool.org. I'm not sure if you've heard of that, but just wideopenschool.org. And what we've done was collected high quality activities around all content areas. So we're talking the core subject areas, right? Like reading and writing, math, STEM, science. And then we incorporated social emotional learning. So SEL activities, we've incorporated DIY and music. And the really cool thing about this resource or this particular website is we have a daily schedule. And so every day we put out a daily schedule with 3 activities for morning, mid-morning, afternoon, and evening. And so worst case scenario, it's just a good go-to to grab those activities in those in between times for learning. And I love the idea because, you talk about equity. And so it's a mix of online and offline activities. So I do feel there's a lot of voice and choice for families in it. We're really steering away from subscriptions, entering a code, IDs, passwords, you know what I mean? You just click the activity and everything you need is right there. And so it's, yes, I mean,
we don't want another password.
No. Right? And the daily activities have saved my life because like a meeting may pop up for me, like I wasn't expecting. And so with that, I'm like, oh boy, wide open school. Give me, quickly print off a scavenger hunt or print, let's do this. Let's color this. Let's imagine this. And it goes K through 12. And so we also have the middle school and high school component too. So for the parent side, we're getting a lot of great feedback, obviously, like what I've been saying, like, oh my gosh, you saved my life. This is so easy. You're finding everything for me. And so Common Sense is going to be working really hard to figure out a framework for the educator side. So how can we help educators incorporate some of this online learning into their existing curriculum so they can just pull the resources?
That is wonderful. Well, we're going to be digging into your website, looking for activities and facts so that we can bring these to parents and let them know that your resource is available, that you're doing some of the heavy lifting and the hard work for us so that we can concentrate on, I don't even know. Job, filing for unemployment, and making sure our kids are not currently playing in the street. While all that is happening, you can Jennifer, thank you so much for being with us. Jennifer Ehalt from Common Sense Education. You can find their information on our Facebook. We're going to put that up there for folks to check and explore. And you said it was wide open?
Wideopenschool.org.
Wideopenschool.org. Wonderful. Fantastic. Thank you so much, Jennifer. We appreciate it.
Thank you. And thank you for all the work you're doing to connect parents. This is really helpful.
Wonderful. And it's our pleasure to do it. We love being able to talk to folks across the country every morning. Jennifer joining us from Chicago, Illinois. And now one of our friends, we're doing a lot of checking in with Minnesota this week. Kulia, our delegate and our parent counselor from Minnesota will be with us. And we would not know Kulia as well as we do without this next lady who hails from Minneapolis, Minnesota. She's a writer at the 74. She's doing some of the most groundbreaking education reporting, some of the most thoughtful storytelling about what parents are doing and enduring and how they're persevering and triumphing across the country. Beth Hawkins is with us, and we're so happy to see her. Beth, how are you? So nice to see you.
We're doing pretty well up here. It's allergy season in the Midwest, so if I sound a little congested, it's because the crabapple outside my window is about to bloom, which is a lovely thing. It's going to be gorgeous.
Oh, yeah, but getting through allergy season, especially when even a sniffle right now can make your heart jump.
Right.
He's saying, "Oh, I'm dusty. I'm not sick."
Right.
But it's different. But it is wonderful to see spring starting to blossom, and your work is also blossoming. I've been enjoying your pieces, and frankly, I'm so grateful that you're sharing your work and your guidance and in conversation with the National Parents Union. I know you've been on with Marisol Rarucha and connected with so many of our parent organizations. We're really grateful for your work and your storytelling and your reporting during this period. So you're also a mama. And so I want to start there because you've got a lot of firsthand experience, of what this time looks like, how you're handling your own house. So how are things going for you personally, aside from the allergies?
I am quarantined with 2 young adults, a senior in high school. And so she's in her last few weeks of wrapping things up. Her signing day t-shirt arrived from college yesterday. So very exciting time period under very unusual circumstances. And I'm also quarantined with a almost 21-year-old who's a junior in college, who's doing an incredibly good job putting up with me. He was independent and enjoying himself, and he had a whole life in another state that he was being fabulously successful at running. And here he is in his childhood bedroom negotiating all the things over again. So we're fine. We have lots of space, and we're not dependent on public transit or other things that make being quarantined super stressful. We're also 3 introverts, so we kind of converge around the refrigerator. And whenever there's something new in it, there's tremendous excitement. Everybody kind of comes out of their corner and investigates.
Well, and you guys have actually been embracing that. We've been watching that on Facebook, coming up with new. And so talk to us about that and how you've kind of brought some innovative approaches to food and deliveries to your house and whatnot.
I think we just sort of realized early on that food is a really emotional thing. Mm-hmm. And that, I originally, when the pandemic hit, was trying to take the advice of have 2 weeks worth of food and don't go out. And so we were trying to triage eat the stuff that's going to go bad first. And my kids are it hadn't occurred to me that they have been raised on if I want macaroni and there's no macaroni, we'll just go down the street and buy some macaroni. And so we were really kind of getting into it over food, which is ridiculous because we have plenty of room. We have enough money. We're in very good shape compared to much of America. So we lightened up a little bit, right? And I've been going out once a week and making sure that we're stocked up and full. Mandy's school has a bus that comes 3 times a week, and we have a student-driven food club that the students started last fall. They were working on issues of food insecurity. So they had been collecting excess food from food shelves and restaurants and working with an actual chef to repackage it and send it to families that needed food over the weekends. Mm-hmm. So our food bus has just been amazing. We get Mexican street corn. We got some chicken tinga the other day. We have gotten things that we repurposed. We got a bunch of very small little diced up mixed vegetables that I couldn't quite figure out. They're too small to stir fry. So we pickled them, turned them into, I don't know if I can pronounce the name of the relish, the giardiniera, but so we've been treating that a little bit like a grab bag.
Well, and I really love this because what we're hearing from so many parents right now, and the reason I mean, we could talk to you about anything, but I just think it's brilliant, what you're bringing to this, and it really kind of clicks something for me. What we're hearing from parents is that they're getting food, but they don't know what to do with the food because the food, they've never seen this food before. It's not, culturally responsive to many of our communities. So you're getting packets of oatmeal and, Latino families like may not be familiar with, like, okay, what do I do with this oatmeal? Like, what do I do with this, whatever's being brought. And so what we're trying to think through is like, how do we work with what we have? How do we teach people, okay, if we're not going to be able to completely change, our food banks, our food pantries, our delivery system, because it's just not feasible in the short term, how can we provide resources to say, okay, these little packets of food that you're getting right now, it's good. Here's what you do with it and how you make it, because we're not even thinking through, like, again, so many of our resources are top down that we're not realizing that while we think we're doing good, our intentions, and what we think folks need may not be connecting with the people who actually need the resource. I mean, it's everything from food to Chromebooks, for crying out loud. I mean, we have folks that, oh, well, we dropped off a Chromebook in a hotspot at your house. There you go. Well, if you don't know how to hook it up, you've never seen a Chromebook, you've never had this technology, you're still going to use your iPhone 7 to try to get on, and that Chromebook is going to sit in a bag. And so how do we actually make it possible for families to eat the food that they have, or transform it so that it's something more familiar and is culturally, acceptable, or can be utilized? Like, and I just thought it was so fascinating watching you kind of transform what you had, because it sparked something, especially here in Massachusetts, for Massachusetts Parents United. We started thinking, because, food is here, but it's not being used. Like, how do we make that possible? I said, look at what Beth is doing. This is, it was brilliant. It was absolutely brilliant. But it's interesting, this trend. I'm a person of faith. I feel like God speaks to me through people. And this week, what I'm hearing the message through all of the folks that are joining us is to really focus on our older kids and what they're going through right now. Yesterday we had Carolina on with us talking about her college freshman and how hard it was for him to come back, having a taste of freedom and then come back. Our college seniors who are supposed to be having the times of their lives, and suddenly, now they're in the situation where they're losing, these incredible, life moments that, they had been looking forward to. I mean, you work so hard, for years and years, and then you're here. How are you helping, your daughter? How are you helping them kind of navigate these things emotionally? Because, as you said, many of us are privileged, like we have access to resources, but, that doesn't mean your heart doesn't hurt when these things happen and it's not painful. So can you give us some wisdom and guidance around that?
It's been really interesting spending time with my adult son, who's back from college. And it's such an interesting experience getting to know him as a person who has a whole life separate from me. We, speaking of taking a drive when you just need to go out and do something, we decided last week to go drive down the St. Croix River. And he had a bunch of homework to do that was to listen to podcasts. So we listened to the cultural history of the face mask. And we listened to several other really interesting things that he had been assigned for classes. And we've just been, I just wrote a story about a court decision that involves the Constitution. He's taking a constitutional law class. So we're just engaging about the things that he's brought home with him, which has been really a treat for me to kind of get a taste of what his day-to-day is like in college, and what, the very intellectual debate that kind of energizes him is like. And I think, my daughter has autism and is probably happier working in a digital environment just to start with. I think the limited sensory overload is really good for her. And it's just her school has decided to focus on engagement and fun. So they're having digital rallies. The teachers have been having dance offs. I mean, just like silly, zany, fun stuff. We looked out the front door on Saturday afternoon and there was a teacher on the lawn. You're gonna make me cry, Keri. With a bag of prom supplies. So, there was some soda and some chips and some other stuff, and they threw a Facebook Live prom Saturday night. So her school has been really fun to engage with, and just a treat to watch teachers trying to take care of their kids during a really hard time and trying to make sure that the human connection comes first. And I do think that's going to pave the way when people are going to try to figure out what to do next fall. That they're going to have, I mean, obviously not with my child's a senior, but the fact that we've tended to these relationships in this time is going to make whatever we pivot to and whatever that looks like easier. We're going to have a foundation to build on, like your earlier guests were talking about in a lot of ways. And you know, her teachers have assigned some stuff we had fun doing too. She was assigned to watch the Taco Chronicles for her Spanish class. I don't know if you guys have seen that, but that's an amazing show. So we've been having some good times, and in a way it's been a real treat for me because I don't typically get to engage with what goes on during their school day.
Well, and I think that's something beautiful that is coming out of all of this, and something that I hope, you know, we take into the future as we explore what education, because it's going to be different and it's going to change. But I hope that we hold on to these lessons that we're learning right now and maybe take a look at those relationships and transform them into something that's less transactional and more transformative. So that we all better understand how our kids learn, but we can also be in better relationship with our educators as well. And Beth, we're so grateful for your work. I'm so sorry our time is short this morning, but we're just so in awe of the way that you are telling the stories of parents and educators across the country. Your work at the 74 has been extraordinary. And can you tease us, what are you working on right now? You got anything else coming up?
Yeah.
Give hints.
Yep, I have a story up today that actually tapped some National Parents Union members, which has been just a godsend for me in this time to be able to tap your network over and over and over again, about a constitutional right to literacy, about the implications of the court case that was just decided in Detroit that draws a direct line between slavery and locking people of color out of political power by denying them the right to a quality education. So that's really worth checking out. And I am gonna today work on finishing a story that involves a principal who reopened a school after the Ebola epidemic, and what he learned from that crisis and how it's informing what he's doing during this one.
Well, and we are going to be pitching your editors on a joint op-ed, a project of many, many delegates of the National Parents Union coming together to write a joint op-ed about how this could be a transformative moment for children of color across the country, how we have seen in the past during times of struggle and emancipation, literacy rates skyrocket. This could be a real opportunity, and parents stepping up and wanting to be in partnership with you guys at the 74 so that their voices are heard, because you know, you guys do extraordinary work, and so we're just so
well.
glad.
Thank you. Can't wait to read that.
Yeah, it's wonderful, and you know, a project of all of these parents coming together and doing it together. So it's extraordinary. Beth, thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you.
All right, that's another edition of NPU Live. I've got to scoot because it's time for an IEP
Scoot.
meeting.
IEP meeting. Go.
We'll see you later.
Guys, send all your tips, topics, and everything to info@npunion.org. That's info@npunion.org. Have a great day, everyone. Bye.